Hello, and welcome to week 6. We are now moving into the section of the New Testament that scholars would call the disputed Pauline epistles. Um, a number of the letters written by Paul are under discussion by scholars because the circumstances and the style and of the Greek and the questions addressed and how they're addressed seem to be different from the authentic Pauline letters. So this week we're going to read a section of Ephesians chapter 5, verses 21 through 6, verses 9, which presents a household code, which was a distinctly Roman thing, and describing how the family unit in Rome should have functioned. And so the questions end up being, would Paul have bought into such a code, or is this another author trying to adjust the church to a new situation? So De Silva will discuss the many factors that cause scholars to question whether these letters were written by Paul or not. Again, there are changes in situations addressed, the tone of the address, and the writing style in the Greek, and the theology expressed seem to be different, and how different, it depends on the scholar. So De Silva does a good job, I think, of presenting the case, and he tends to come down on the conservative side that Paul did write the letters. I would tend to go the other way. I guess the other thing to think about, though, again, is even if we decide that Paul did not write them, that doesn't mean they're not scripture. They're in the New Testament, which was a decision made by the early church based on which books were useful among congregations. And so it was a consensus vote, and these letters are scripture for us. I want to comment here too that I am making an assumption again as the designer of this class that you're here because you think scripture is important, but I don't want to assume that you are necessarily a Christian. I would hope that you're reading this book with a community, a group of people in mind that you can carry your conversations to. But if you are a questioning agnostic or an atheist and you're here because you're interested, that's great. And I certainly don't want to put the kibosh on any questions or comments you might have, just as long as we stay respectful to each other in our discussions. This week we're going to use feminist criticism. It's a class of criticism like post-colonial criticism or a liberation theology sort of perspective that looks at scripture particularly in terms of groups that are marginalized or been used to oppress. And the disputed Pauline letters are troubling in places to feminist scholars because they codify patriarchy. And so we want to read these letters keeping in mind who is excluded or who is put down, and then think about, is that what Paul would do? So feminist criticism, you can read De Silva and then see what you think. So we're reading that section of Ephesians 5:21 through 6:9, which is a household code. We're paying particular attention to whom it benefits and whom it excludes. And why might it be important to the author to use a household code to try to align the church with the Roman household?